So let us now prepare in mind, body, and spirit for our service today. Stop the wild ride. It's well fitting. By Petra Welds and Christian Sorensen from the Joyous Living Journal. Being able to find a safe harbor to reorient and ready yourself is an extremely valuable. Life will always be waiting for you to re-enter its currents of adventure. You must replenish and strengthen yourself with nourishment of the soul by stepping out of the currents of your activities. Catch your breath. Let your guard down. Reorient your course. Refuel, do the repairs, adjust, clean up, renew, and then set sail. So if you can now just take these words with you into that inner sanctuary for a few minutes. So how good it is to feel that joy and enthusiasm of spirit that lives and breathes within us, but also to recenter ourselves and to be in that innermost sanctuary of the Most High, knowing that God is absolutely present in this moment and in every moment as we step forward on our path of rejuvenation, restoration, that refueling of our own spiritual energy that we call God, that lives and breathes within us. It is that inner sanctuary that we are just infused with that energy of God. And so I know that this time together, this celebration of our life, is that celebration of God that moves through us, as us, and around us. And it does so perfectly in this congregation, with our band, with Reverend Cece, with the Children's Church. Absolutely every single thing is in divine order and divine right action as we continuously step forward in our own life. And so I know that all is good. And so we say together, and so it is.
Hey, Dan, thanks. I needed that. Kind of draggy today. I didn't get enough sleep last night, and I thought, man, how am I going to do this? But all I have to do is walk in to this building. It's so infused with energy that, and then, they do something like that, and I'm like ready to go now. I'm ready. Maybe we should we're supposed to talk about, slowing down and getting off the horse on things. Maybe we should just have Dan do that song again. So the story is a Buddhist story that goes like this. There was a man who was riding a horse, and the horse was going very fast, and the man came to a crossroads, and a friend of his was on the cross street and said, "Hey, where are you going?" And the guy on the horse says, "I don't know, ask the horse." Does that sound familiar to you? Doesn't life feel that way to you a lot of the time? Like the horse is just going hell-bent for leather, as my mother would say, and we don't know where. We don't know where it's going. Or to use the analogy of our reading, you can't always be out on the high seas sailing. Sometimes you have to take a detour into a harbor and check for shipworms and clean it up and make the repairs and make sure your sails are mended and rechart your course. Because in order to live consciously, we have to take the time to figure out where it is we want to go and always be making sure that we're headed in that direction. Or we could be, wherever that horse wants to take us, instead of where it is that we want to go. I was reading this past week a magazine that's printed by Plum Village, which is Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery in France, and he tells the horse story in that magazine, and then he says, the horse is technology. And I thought, wow, that's really true. That's really true. The horse that's galloping the whole time is, I mean, we are never not connected to the World Wide Web. And there is never a moment that we can't have news and Facebook postings and cell phone calls and weather and music. And sometimes we just need to turn off the computer and put down the smartphone, take out the earbuds, and spend a minute being quiet in order to just figure out where we are and where we're going, whether it's a day or an hour. And I actually did that on Friday. I thought, my husband is off playing golf with his buddies, and I thought, they're camping in Wilmington so they can play lots of golf. And so I thought, this is a perfect opportunity. It's just me and the dog and the cats, and I'm going to take a real day off, and I'm going to unplug. And I turned on my computer late that evening and realized I'd missed a conference call I was supposed to be on. And checked my email, and one of my colleagues sent me an email and said, "We missed you this afternoon. Is everything okay?" And I emailed him back and said, "Wow, I took a real day off, and I didn't turn on my email, and I'm really sorry I missed that call." He emailed me back and said, "Don't be sorry, Cece. I have heard of this concept of the day off and thought it might be fun to try it sometime." It's really true though, isn't it? I mean, how often do we take a real day off from all that stuff? I don't know about you, but you go to work and you do your work, and then you go home and you do your work, right?
Yeah.
And on Saturdays and Sundays, we're usually mowing our lawns or trimming our shrubs or whatever it is we're doing in the rest of our, not even the house, the outside. And trying to catch up on all the other things that we don't get done during the week. It's crazy. It's crazy. And what I've realized is that without that rest and recharge and repair and recharting, we're really operating at about 50%. Because we're so distracted. We're so distracted. And you can think about, you do a task, and then you're on to the next task, and then you're on to the next task, and maybe in between there you stop to look on Facebook or say hi to a friend or something, but it's just this rapid fire, never ceasing, go, go, go. I want to talk a little bit about time for a minute. You all know, don't you, that time has no independent existence. It's something we made up. Good, glad to hear it. Because you have to make time to stop. You have to make time. And then you have to take the time you've made. Or it never gets done. It never gets done. You have to make time to stop. And then you have to commit to yourself to take the time you've made. That conference call I missed went fine. They didn't need me to be there. I'm going to have a little call with the guy who emailed me about this intriguing idea of a day off tomorrow, and that will take care of everything that needed to be taken care of. I didn't have to be there. Most of the time we don't have to be there. When we say, "I'm unplugging for a day, I'm taking a day off," it's okay. Life goes on without us. I know that's shocking. It was shocking the first time I realized it. And then I thought, oh, that's good. I like the fact that it goes on without me. That's really good. I've had this indispensability complex since I was a child, and it's really nice to put it down once in a while. It's really nice to put it down. The way I think about this time off stuff is by way of an ancient concept. It's called Sabbath. It comes from the Hebrew word Shabbat, which means rest. The first time we see it is in the oldest part of the Hebrew Bible. God starts creating, and on the first day he creates this, and on the second day he creates that, and then he creates a few more things, and on the seventh day God rested and saw that it was good. Even God takes a day off. We should pay attention to that, I think, because we don't let ourselves very often. And that's the first time we see it, and it's repeated more and more and more throughout the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, and it's even one of the commandments. One of the commandments is, thou shalt keep the Sabbath holy. Some people think that means you have to spend a day a week praying, but I don't think that's what it means at all. I think keeping the Sabbath holy means keeping that attitude of Sabbath intact, whole, participating in it fully. That's what it means to keep the Sabbath holy, I think. So, Sabbath. You know, we come here on Sunday mornings to ramp up our spiritual energy by being in community together. It's one of the things that only spiritual community can do for us, is give us that sense of shared, this is good. You know, this spirituality thing is good, and there's a bunch of people that think the same way I do, and you know, a bunch of people that like the same band that I like, and all of that kind of stuff. And we do that, and then we have the afternoon. Perfect Sabbath time, if you make it that. You can go home, and here's what I think about Sabbath. It means no work. No work. I have to take mine on Thursday, of course, but no work means no altering the natural world. No changing the natural world. Which means, I heard this great description of the perfect summer Sunday. A cool glass of something good to drink, a hammock, sunny skies, and the lawnmower is broken. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? We have to take the time to not alter our natural environment. No mowing, no sowing, no weeding, no growing, everything we do at work is altering the natural environment. Whether we deal in, taking plant fibers and weaving them into cloth, or taking electrons and parceling them out into information. It's all altering the natural environment. So no work means watch the grass grow. Watch the flowers bloom. Watch the waves on the ocean. Listen to the river burble, and don't mess with any of it. Just look at it. What a cool concept. No work. No worry. This one's just as important. You can put those things down. They'll be there, if they're still there. When you're done with your Sabbath time, if you put down your worry, an amazing thing happens. Most of it goes away. Have you noticed that? It's like worrying about whether I made it onto that phone conference or not. Once I just said, I wasn't there, everything was fine. I didn't need to be there. Nothing that needed to get done didn't get done. Put down your worry. Just put it aside. If you're worried about money, leave it. If you're worried about time, particularly, leave it. If you're worried about, your relationship or whatever, just say, okay, for this block of time, this Sabbath block of time, I'm going to put that down. And I'm not going to think about it. At the end of the Sabbath time, you can revisit it and see if it's even worth picking back up. A lot of times it isn't. And so no work, no worry. This is a time of being, not doing. A time of some silence in which to just be rather than do. Like I said, to watch the grass grow, and to watch the flowers bloom, and to not worry about how fast they're blooming or how fast it's growing. But simply to be silent, to pray, to experience awe, to listen for that voice inside that says, this is the course you want to chart. This is where you want to head. Not back to that same old worry, rut that you've dug for yourself, but this way. Try going this way. We never hear that unless we make time to listen for it. And when we make time, what we get out of that time is amazing. It's amazing. The other thing I always add into my thinking about Sabbath is an act of kindness that's not requested, that's unexpected. It's just me doing something kind for somebody else. No work, no worry, and an act of kindness to me means really good Sabbath time, really good time of rest and getting off the horse and stopping that wild ride to who knows where. Yogi Berra, one of my favorite quotes, if you don't know where you're going, you'll most probably end up somewhere else. The guy had a way with words, didn't he? But it's really true. If you don't know where you're going, you could wind up anywhere, but it won't be where it is that you want to be. The other thing that I think about a lot with regard to Sabbath time is that we can actually expand time if we want to. aside from that afternoon or day or hour during the week, Sabbath moments, I think, are really, really important in our lives because the pace just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. Have you noticed? Man, it's incredible how fast information moves, how fast decisions have to be made, how fast things change, how fast people come into our lives, and then if we're not careful and connect with them, they'll be gone, and we may not see them for a long time, if ever again. Things are happening so fast that I think Sabbath moments every single day become very important. And so what's a Sabbath moment? When we begin to study meditation, the first thing we find out is that our mind is constantly churning thoughts. Yes? There's one thought followed by another thought, followed by another thought, and then another one, and then another one, and pretty soon you are off on a wild gallop somewhere. The second thing we learn is that at the end of one thought and before the next one, there's a little tiny space. There's just a little tiny space. And the third thing we learn is to jump into that space and take a breath and pause there for just a second. And then we forget it, and pretty soon we're off on a wild gallop in another direction. And then, oh, wait a minute. If I notice, there's a space at the end of my thought. And I can step into that space and take a breath. The effect of doing that is to expand time. Try it during your workday sometime. Finish a task. Stop. Take a breath. Check in with yourself. Then go on to the next task. What I usually do is just like line them up. And the faster I can cross them off my list, the happier I am. Except at the end of the day, I've done less and I'm not as happy. I'm exhausted, stressed out. My shoulders are up around my ears. Whereas if I stop one task and go, that felt good, cross it off. I think I'll take another breath here. Ooh, I like breathing. I forget that. Do you forget that sometimes? How much you like breathing? Then go on to the next task. You've just bought yourself a moment of Sabbath time. And you have just expanded it into something that's very healing. Very healing. So just take that little tiny moment. We begin to be functioning at a higher level. We're calmer. Things get done more easily, with less stress, fewer mistakes. We get home at the end of the day and think, I have a little energy left. It's a miracle. And all it takes is just that little moment, jumping into that space and saying, I'm going to take a Sabbath moment here. Stop the horse, check in with myself, find out I'm headed in the right direction. When I remember to do this, sometimes I find out that the task I was about to jump into is not the right thing to do at all to get me where I want to go. Sometimes I say, oh my goodness, I should do that next. Because that's going to lead me closer to the goal that I had in mind when I started, if I can even remember what the goal was. If I take these moments, I'm much more likely to remember it and to head in the right direction. This is amazingly important stuff to do, and very simple. It's very simple, and it's not easy. It's not easy. It is trying to make new mental patterns where old mental habits have established themselves. And so, you know, the whole idea is to make the time, take the time, and expand the time just a little bit. Then you've created space for yourself to make sure you're charting the course you really want to go on. To make sure that you're in control of the horse, not the other way around. Whether you call the horse technology, or ego, or your boss, or you could call your boss some other part of the horse, but that wouldn't be very nice. If you're the one who's leading the horse, if you're the one who's charting the course, you can check on the way and make sure you're headed in the right direction. A very simple way to start is to think for a minute about those times and situations where you find it the easiest to just let yourself be. Whether it's walking by the river or through the woods, or one of my favorites is sitting in front of a blank wall, doesn't have anything on it that's likely to make me think. Simply letting the wall be there. Or, you know, some people find it through gardening. There's something about digging in the dirt and seeing how your plants are doing and looking at the blooms and how they're really put together. Sometimes it's making music, or I know one woman who pounds a drum and she gets so into it that time just slows down for her. Those places where you can most easily just be. And what I'd really like to do is come out there and have a couple of you share them, because when you share them, you might jog somebody else's mind and say, I think I'll try that. Maybe it'll work for me. So who's got a moment they can share? Oh, Michelle, I know I could count on you.
Mine is when I paint my ceramics. I just get in there and I turn on the Native American flutes and I just start painting, and the next thing you know, it's just, my head's quiet and I'm seeing it unfold in front of me, and I go downstairs, get a drink of water, and a minute's gone by, it feels like. It's just, that's it. You know, I got all the time in the world when I'm back here creating. It's a beautiful thing, and I get meditative. And it's just beautiful, and I just feel so much better.
Good, that's a good one. Who else? Come on, don't be shy. Oh, good.
Another Michelle.
Another Michelle. Michelle Day.
Yeah, it's Michelle Day. I know Michelle talked about painting, and on Tuesdays I go to Columbus and I paint. And as we're painting, music is playing. And I know that what happens is that I get into that left brain, no longer in the right brain. And when I get into the left brain, it's not talking like the monkey mind. You know, it's not going and going and going. It's just in the moment. And that's when my Sabbath is when I can stay in the moment.
Are you painting mandalas or just painting? Oh, I know that workshop. I'm going to do that one of these days.
I'm a water person, and one of the things that I absolutely love is being around a waterfall. And you can focus on the rushing water and the power and the movement, and you can stop for a second, catch a drop of water at the very top, follow it all the way to the bottom, and everything will go into slow motion as you do that. And it's beautiful, and it feels like the whole world has just changed and time has changed for you.
Isn't that a nice mental picture? I love it. Actually, I read a story about Paul Newman the other day, and this guy was supposedly interviewing him, and they wound up watching raindrops run down the window pane for several hours. They'd like watch one and see which one was going to reach the bottom first. It's a great way to spend time.
I really enjoy reading something inspirational because I find that it really slows my mind down and it gets me into that higher plane of thinking. When I'm definitely reading something enlightening that has to do with God and being God within, it just really, really sparks me knowing that I am divine, and I love it.
As long as you don't make a to-do list afterwards.
I have a pool in my backyard, so it's always nice. On that raft, and then I have these old pine trees up there, and so I just meditate, and that is just awesome, just to be in that.
I bet you could be in that water for a long time, right?
Yeah. I hope this is appropriate. I'm a drummer, and I all my life I used to have to get high or take drugs or whatever to really enjoy playing my instrument. And today when I play my drums, I'm just connected to the Holy Spirit. That's right. And that's how I get high.
A lot of us been looking for spirit in the wrong place, haven't we?
I was on the other team for years. So.
Yeah.
For me, it's just spending time with my grandchildren. The other year, it's been a while back, but I was walking with my little, probably 2 or 3 year old grandson. We're just walking down the street, and all of a sudden he stops. He gets down on the sidewalk. There's this little teeny ant. And we got down there and looked at that thing for like 5 or 10 minutes, you know, just following it and just looking at his experience of life, you know, through his eyes. It's just, it stops time for me.
Kids are guaranteed in the moment.
I forget your name up there, but what's your address? Can we come by and experience it? When I take a walk with my dogs, that's nice. I just watch your little legs run, they're just so happy, so.
Kids and dogs, man, they'll take you right into the moment every single time. See, it's really simple to do this. It doesn't really take a lot of planning or forethought. All it takes is a breath. Oh, I think I'll just stop a minute and let myself be. And take another breath and remember who I am and what I'm connected to, and that from here I chart my course forward. Nobody charts it for me. We can get caught up and forget our own power. But these moments and these hours of Sabbath take us back into the place where we remember that we're in charge of the horse and not the other way around. That we're the captain of the ship, and that taking time to go into harbor is a really, really good thing. Really good thing. So, my prayer for all of us today is enough of that time. That we each make enough and take enough of that time for ourselves so that we can stay in constant communication with that inner wisdom, with that inner voice. Enough time, enough silence, enough sunrises, enough sunsets, enough blank walls to make your ride, every one of you, absolutely, absolutely the ride of your dreams. And so let's just continue that inward journey and bring our consciousness together in that inward space. In that quiet inward space where things are timeless and infinite, where there is always peace abounding and joy and stillness, and where when we take the time to listen, we hear the voice of our very soul, that voice within that says, take this path, head this direction, sail this way. For in this direction lies your future, lies all of those things that the soul is urging you to do. All of those things that inner divine voice seeks for you. Peace and abundance and joy and tranquility and love and connection and abiding wonder at this amazing world we live in, this amazing universe we live in. That is the soul's journey, the one that we take as spirits having a human experience. And as we make this journey, what I know for each one of us is an ever-increasing awareness of that divine spark of life that resides at our very core, of its urgings and its whisperings, and of the love that pours from that center through us and into the world. As we realize that each one of us is the heart and the hands and the voice of that divine life that is everywhere present, it makes itself known in this world by means of you, by means of each of us, as we share with one another what it is to be, before we share what it is to do. To remember always that we are spiritual beings at root, at core, at heart. And so I know for each one of us that finding, making, taking, expanding, creating Sabbath hours and days and moments is a task that we take on with great joy and anticipation, and that it serves us incredibly well beyond our imagining, so that we function as spirit enfleshed. And as we do that, everything changes. The world changes, the universe changes, creation changes, love happens, peace expands. Because life is good and getting better all the time. So I just say thank you. I give thanks to this infinite wisdom that gave birth to each one of us. I give thanks for this infinite power that glues us all into one. I give thanks for this time of celebration and remembering. I give thanks for this amazing, sometimes wild, sometimes sedate ride called life. And from this place of thanksgiving, I release these words knowing that as I speak them, they are already made so. Thank you, thank you. And we say together, and so it is. Let's take a moment just to be grateful for a second. Grateful for all of the incredible music that we have here. Grateful for all of the blessings in our lives. Grateful for our homes and families and our source and the very life within us. It is this attitude of gratitude that says yes to more good. From gratitude, we welcome more into our lives each day. And it is in gratitude that we give to support the work of this center, that we bless the abundance of this community, and that we know that our growth, our expansion as individuals and as a community is handled. God has it. So I ask you, as you give, as the basket goes by, whether you're giving or unable to, just bless it as it goes by. Bless the abundance and continuing expansion of this community. And let's affirm together. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
I know that as I give, so do I receive. And so it is. No kids yet. They must still be back there meditating. Those kids are amazing. They're amazing. So I'll give you a couple of announcements and then the kids will probably appear. First of all, if you have any questions or if you're new and want to just know more, someone will be at the Welcome Center over there after the service. You can talk with whoever's there and they can tell you whatever it is that you need to know. This coming Saturday is our yard cleanup, 8 o'clock in the morning or thereafter, from 8 to 1. We just have some dead branches to clean up and some shrubs to trim and things like that. So if you've got an hour to spare and some tools to bring or not, you can just bring yourself. There's a sign-up sheet on the bookstore, on the bulletin board by the bookstore door. I think if there are 5 or 6 or 7 of us, it'll be done like that. And then you can all head on down to the Festival of the Vine at the Phrase. You can meet Kelly and Denise at 1 o'clock there at the entry to that, and they'll have some other wild and crazy people there with them. On the 16th, which is the following Saturday, there's an outing at Cedar Bog Nature Preserve, and there's more information in your bulletin about it, but please, if you're going to go, sign up on the bulletin board by the bookstore door as well, or you can talk to Gary Victor. There he is, Gary Victor, who is heading up that it's educational and a lot of fun to go out there and just see what's up. It's so interesting to me to learn that there are actually peat bogs in this. There's one in Dayton in the middle of town. Blew me away. I went out to pick up trash there one day and thought, this is so cool. I thought they only had these in Ireland. But no, there's one in Dayton and there's an even cooler one over at Cedar Bog. Then the following day, which is Sunday the 17th, we will feature Reverend Karen Russo. She's an interesting woman. She has a master's in finance from Columbia and a master's in consciousness studies from Holmes Institute, and she will be here to do the Sunday message and then offer a workshop entitled Escaping the Money Traps of Scarcity, Superstition, and Survival. I think it's going to be really good, so you can sign up for that on the bulletin board as well. And you know, we'll lose the kids if we don't sing to them, so let's hit it now.
1, 2, 3. You are beautiful, courageous, and wise beyond your ages. This I know for you, as I know myself. You are splendid, you're unique, with the whole world at your feet. This I know for you, as I know myself. You are mother to the flowers, and sister to the trees. This I know for you, as I know myself. And all life lives within you. You are one with God, it's true. This I know for you, as I know myself. This I know for you, as I know myself. This I know for you, as I know myself.
Yay! Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Thank you for being here. And I don't know whether you know this, Sebastian, but you don't have that plugged into anything. You must be listening to Spirit. Oh, it does! Oh my God, it's like a little tiny... That's the smallest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's the coolest. That is cool. That is really cool. It's this big. It's a teeny little thing. I thought he was maybe listening to Spirit. You know, you hold that wire up long enough and God will talk to you. Okay. Couple more announcements and then we'll close up and sing our closing song. We have 4 spots still available at the November retreat for Mystics. So $50 will hold your spot, and there is you can actually just leave a note on the main desk in there, or you can email us during the week. It's going to be an outstanding retreat, and we filled up the first building so fast we rented another building, so we have a couple more rooms. If you're an Amazon aficionado like I am, you can go now to our web page, and on the very front page there's something that says Amazon shop and do something else. Click on that, you'll go straight to Amazon, and we get a little bit of money for every dollar you spend there, so check it out. If you're interested in learning how to play the guitar or how to play it better, drop in free private lessons on Friday evenings beginning at 6:30 p.m. And there's some more information on the bulletin board and also in your bulletin. Our new newsletter is here. Yay!
Sarah did an awesome job.
It's a beautiful, beautiful publication. And what we would like you to do is think about next week where you might be able to take some copies and leave them to be picked up, or if you can think of a good place that we should take it and ask for permission to leave 5 or 10 copies for the public. So it's got some of our people's ads in the inside so that other people find out about some of the people who work here and do cool things like, or not who work here, but who are members of this community and do cool things like the Institute of Holistic Leadership and all manner of other things. So check those out and look on the back for the fall classes. It's going to be a really fun fall. We're going to be doing a free class on Sundays. There's a $5 materials cost because there's a workbook. Here on Sundays at 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. beginning in September. It's 5 weeks long. It's called the 5 Pillars of Spirituality, and it's all about developing your own spiritual practice. We're also doing Prosperity Plus 2 beginning in September on Wednesday evenings and Self-Mastery on Monday evenings. So check those classes out and decide how many you want to take. Take them all. We've worked it out so you can. So please see the back of your bulletin insert and the back of the newsletter here where it says ongoing CSL activities for all the stuff that's happening around here, and mark your calendars. And finally, if you'd like prayer support for anything at all, please see one of the beautiful women with the white or teal shawls on. They're happy to pray with you. It's their gift to you on Sunday. Just that moment of having someone know the truth for you when you can't can shift everything. Just walk up and say, I'd like prayer. Or you can put a written prayer request in the prayer chest. You can call our prayer line, or you can actually go online on our website and do an electronic prayer request as well. So, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time of celebration. And let's stand up for our closing affirmation and our closing song. I did it already, Becky. Our closing song, which is Into the Light. But first, there is a song of the universe and I sing it.
There is a song of the universe and I sing it.
There is a hymn of praise and I praise it.
There is a hymn of praise and I praise it.
There is a life of joy and I live it.
There is a life of joy and I live it.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Have a fabulous week, everybody.